So this happens to be my video on Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. So I am going to do is a little recap upon the series and my takes on the whole entire thing and what does the sixth one actually means. Well, we understand that originally it had no particular meaning. There was no continuing of the story from the very first one. It was meant to be a one-shot deal, and that was it. Just something random. Then all of a sudden, it escalated. But I believe that the 19th of June actually really had to do with not just a particular date, but the numbers itself 19 and '06 would be the age groups of the red guy and yellow guy, which their beds were labeled R and Y, and then Duck is labeled D. And we find out through another episode of when, or at least when they're getting kidnapped, and you see in the little corner right there is 19. Well, is it here? Either way, my image would probably be flipped. Anyways, it said was 190655. So, is that their time, date, including the year, or also one other thing, all three age groups, the three ages. And yes, we have determined that Roy is the symbolization of media or marketing that has been warping of society, through the mass medias. Because remember, if you didn't know, that a lot of our medias back in the day, even to this day, but more so back then, which was controlled not by the media itself, but by the ones that produced it, such as the ad company. Not really the ad companies, but more of the product lines. So, like in America, you had was Procter and Gamble, Kraft, all these different companies, General Mills and stuff like that. Each one of them actually controlled the show and what would be on it and what wouldn't. They would have a representative to see the taping of the show and seeing if it goes within their guidelines, or even look at the script beforehand. That's also the same way as with Bonanza. If you notice the title sequence of Bonanza, it has a river running through it. But if you ever watch the series, you notice they never crossed a river. The reason why is that their sponsor was not Ford. And you think, what does this have to do? Well, it was another car company that was not Ford, was their sponsor. I believe it was GM at the time. Maybe Chrysler, GM or Chrysler. I'm not really too sure at this moment. So, but either way, it's another American car company, a rival to Ford. So the reason why of not crossing a river in that case was that the term for crossing a river is called fording a river. So that's the reason why that they never had them crossing, even though on the map it shows that there's a river in their property, and like, okay, that type of thing. So that's what Roy represents as the first victim of media that happened, and he victimizes the three new puppets. Red guy, yellow guy, and Duck. And if you notice, the products they all say Roy, plus the major hidden protagonist, the creepy guy. Anyways, the main villain, or it seems like he has the letter R on his Farmer John's. And the yellow guy, on his Farmer John's, it's D. So, are they the first letters of their names? Who knows? Another thing, I am a lot of commenters have gotten a lot of the stuff correct and a lot really, really wrong of its meaning. Or, their interpretation is like so obscured. The weirdest and dumbest one that is completely wrong. I can understand his, or he or she's, I think it's a he, this person's misconception about this has to do with the file in the well, of number 6. He claimed that it was the name of the red guy that was on there. Like he said, it was um, Dermis was what that said on there. I looked on it; it didn't say Dermis. It actually said was "Don't hug me, I'm scared." Not the whole words, actually the lettering. And then it said underneath that, file G. Well, that kind of seems a little odd because think about this. This is the 6th one. What letter the G represents? Okay, if you understand is the English alphabet, the 7th letter is G. So is the file representing the 7th episode coming up? Or what is happening in the 6th episode, especially towards the end? Isn't that the beginning of the end, as it were, of the new series of episode 7? I don't think that it's going to continue on. It just left at that point to make you think that the cycle repeating itself every time they go through the cycle, it changes and it keeps on changing and changing, just like the times keep on going and going, and media and marketers and the companies are still there, but the format has changed a little. Like, certain things have been accepted now than like 20 years ago it wouldn't be accepted, and vice versa. Like certain you know movie tropes of the 80s cannot even remotely get flying up how it is now in the movies today. Or even the rating systems changed because in the 80s you had developed was PG-13, because there was this big gap between rated R and PG. So a lot of really violent movies that was closer to R, but it was still within the PG guideline at the time. So it was with also other less violent and more family oriented shows, movies. It's like that's the reason why with that. Okay. The other things about Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is like, uh, well, nobody actually knows the names. We just know even from the actual company's site, they do specify them as red guy, yellow guy, and duck. They don't call him Ducky or any other names. And when the red guy, he grows up, he's at work, everybody looks like him. And if you notice the name tag on his boss, it says red guy. And since he's traumatized about what happened to him, or remembers of the events that has happened to him, he cannot cope with society. So he lashed out when he was at the pub. So he just broke out in song, even though that he was ridiculed. He ended up back under the control of Roy, as it were. He saw the machine that controlled everything in that house. He tried to do was change things to literally probably try to figure out how to stop the thing, because it seemed like he was trying to save the yellow guy. But he ended up doing more harm. And Roy was there and saw that the yellow guy, his son, as the yellow guy specifies Roy as, Roy reached out to say, like, to me it seems like that's enough. And then point out the plugs over there, pull it, Because then he looked over, he saw the plug, and when he went towards it, the spotlight turned on. So, are they all alive or dead or whatever? It's all in the concepts of these three age groups. So the yellow guy is going through transition. He cannot stand the teachers, as it were, especially when he's trying to sleep. The teachers won't let him, telling him that he doesn't know how to dream because they haven't taught him how to dream. Instead, creating nightmares for the yellow guy. So, the rest of it does seem like there's a kidnapping involved. So it would be the kidnapping of marketing, the media, and also the companies, the product lines and stuff, such as Roy Brand or everything, has entrapped these three age groups. That's kind of what I see of it. But do I actually see that there might be a continuing of it? Probably not. But that little cliffhanger at the end of the 6th episode, it does specify that it's restarting all over. And file G, just specifies it's the 7th one of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Alright, for the other ones, each episode teaches you a different thing. The first one telling you to be creative, but in the process, it denounces your creativity. It denies what you think is creative. It smacks you up the side of the head and tells you what is to be creative. And at the end of the first one, it tells you, oh, let's agree not to be creative ever again. Because the puppets went insane. Plus the duck. He was obsessed with his age and dying. That's why with death at the end. Now, what's really fucked up is when they say green is not a creative color. Fuck. That's actually one of my favorite colors is green. So that's fucked up. And I'm very creative, by the way. Then the other ones, we have one that talks about time itself. That's number 2. And it tells you that we have to do is spend every moment and make sure it's fruitful and pleasurable, or at least, meaningful. Don't waste your time, because we all have limited time, as in life itself. The third one, what was that one? Well, either way, we had one that was about them being on a picnic, and does specify that they were kidnapped because there's a wanted poster looking for them. And then the yellow guy was being taught that to go with this religious cult and to worship this being, because that is the only true joy you'll ever have. With that, you could probably say it's going against ideology of any kind, especially religious ideology, where it goes to the extremes, where they want to have you deny you access to your friends and family and saying that they don't love you. you have to join us. We're the only ones that love you. And we were going to tell you how to love and do all this, how to be happy. So drink the fucking Kool-Aid type shit. And then it kind of seems like it goes on with Christianity, of some tactics of different forms that Christianity has done to people, and also with the Jim Jones era, because I known about that as a kid, so it's like kind of what I grew up with, about knowing of the dangers of cults, especially the Jim Jones, religious group. And it's one of the reasons why I don't drink Kool-Aid to this day. Then we had one on, the fifth one was actually about when the red guy was leaving completely and he was going to work, as it were. Going in the real world, leaving this fantasy world behind. And also telling you about what to eat. But if you notice, everything they specified is to be bland, tasteless. In other words, have no creativity, no soul, no drive. Do not question the teachers. That's basically what they've been telling. We know everything, you know Jack, and we're telling you what you are supposed to know and think and feel and do, and how to act and how to do everything, all this and all that. And then number 4 was when we had one that broke the shell, as it were. That was where the red guy blew up. His head blew up. Basically, I see it as that his head blowing up and him popping up here and there. He was transitioning outwards to where 5, you see him leaving, and then 6, he is gone. Same thing with in 6, everybody's gone except for the yellow guy, and he's all alone. There's no one there but him and these teachers that harass him in this house. But where is Roy? But Roy was actually following the red guy all this time, if you haven't noticed. You probably notice him here and there, but he was also haunting was the yellow guy's dreams. As he was in the dream sequence, same thing with all the past characters were in the dream sequence. We had one about, third one was on religion. 4th one was on the computer. I was on my computer. Computer world, all that shit. That one was actually about the internet and the dangers of it, but more of social media and what to do and what not to do. They want you to be hypnotized or mesmerized by technology, to be dumbed down by all these entrapments that we have, and not use any of it to expand our horizons or solve. So, all in all, the whole entire complete series, I think that even though each one was like trying to teach you bad things and kind of good things at the same time, but the overall arc, I see it as a satirical drama specifying that expand your horizons, never give up, always be creative, and no matter what you do, always be awesome and never give up. Till then, Judging. Bye bye.